Jupiter at Night is presented before a live internet audience.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Jupiter at Night. My name is Chris.
My name is Jeremy.
Now, Jupiter at Night is the nightly show, Monday through Thursday at Jupiter Broadcasting. We love to cover the main big stories of the day, and today is one of these stories. I'm so glad we're doing a daily show.
Yeah, because this came out today, and we got a lot to say about it. Before we get into that, though, we did promise that we're going to teach you guys a little bit about how to become a part of this show, this great, incredible, fantastic, groundbreaking show that you love to watch every day, several times.
I mean, the main thing is we really
tell all
want
your
to
friends about it.
We want to have more audience participation. We do it live. We've got an active chat room right now with like, I don't know, I'm just looking at the rough numbers. There's Jillian. And I think it's Jillian. In there.
I think it's Jillian and a half.
I'm surprised the IRC server hasn't had to split.
I know.
So we want to have a live interactivity, but one of the things is the news stories we're covering. We want you guys to have input on them, so we've come up with a way to do that.
And sometimes they come out the same day that we cover them.
Oh, absolutely.
So you got to be on top of it. So we're going to show you a few tips on how to follow us and stalk us on the interwebs.
Yeah.
But also how to send us news,
Yeah.
keep us up to date, and also how to join the discussions that form around these news stories as they come out.
Once we kind of move that out of the way, once you guys have a good, clear picture of that, we're going to talk about the big, huge, sweeping changes that were done today to users, to consumers' rights regarding copy protection, all kinds of stuff, jailbreaking phones. And then in the spirit of that, we'll be giving you a live demonstration on how to back up your own personal DVDs.
Because it's legal now.
It's legal now! Yay! But first off, we want to talk about getting your thoughts in on our news stories. We've come up with a couple different ways. We've been trialing this for a little bit now. And what we use on the back end, just so you guys know our workflows, is where the hosts are. What's up?
You back end? What?
Oh, the back end? The hosts are all big Google Reader fans. Is where we collect all
yeah,
of
not
our
just
stories.
this show, but also Lotso and Lass and the rest of the JB crew.
And when we find a story in there, we tag it with a tag that's for that show. That creates an RSS feed that we are going to be feeding out to you guys. And in the show notes for this episode, you can subscribe to these bundles. And these bundles will include all of the news stories that the hosts are following for each show. So there will be a Linux Action Show bundle, there's a Jupiter at Night bundle, and there's a Lotso bundle. So you could subscribe to the Jupiter at Night bundle right now. You can search Google Reader or you can get it in our show notes, and you will see every single story that we post in there. And it'll show up right in your Google Reader, just like you're used to seeing, so nothing funky or unusual about that.
I'll be totally honest, I'm kind of blown away by this. I had no idea that we could do this. We had been talking about just having people follow us individually, but this is freaking sweet.
The idea is that way it's one feed for the viewers where they can follow all of the stories that the hosts have under consideration. And on top of that, if you combine that with Buzz, if you follow us in Google Buzz, again, all of the links for this are over in the show notes for this episode at jupiterbroadcasting.com.
Or down there if you're watching it after it's live.
This is more like a value add, but if you want to follow on Buzz, Google Reader and Buzz have this really slick integration, and everything you share and mark in Google Reader immediately gets posted to Buzz.
And vice versa, it seems.
Yeah.
Looks like your comments from Buzz are now going back to Reader as
well. Which is awesome for us when we're correlating the stories right before we go live. We can see right inside Reader which ones have the conversation thread. And Google Buzz actually makes a pretty good threaded conversation around a news story. So we would love for you guys to join in the news conversation with us, follow the stories that we're going to be doing, because I'll be honest, two stories now, two really big stories that I was missing some details on, because especially on a daily show, you got to get the news stories fast.
Fast, yeah.
I've had two kind of embarrassing instances that I've been saved, thanks to the people that are following this.
And a lot of the details on tonight's story have come from one guy that we're going to give a special shout out to, because
that's the thing. Yeah, we'll do that when you've been a solid contributor to the news feed that makes it into the show. We'll be sure to try to give you a shout out. So, with all of that said, let's
jump in with both legs.
Yeah, let's cover this. Let's cover what broke today. This is a huge day for consumers of content.
The government finally got it right. You guys might have heard of the Library of Congress. Well, the Librarian of Congress. I didn't know that there was somebody named this, by the way.
I'm number 3.
Number 3.
Sorry, we're having a little live technical issue here.
The Librarian of Congress, who I picture some gigantic woman with a hair bun and big glasses.
Although probably exactly what she looks like. She's also extremely powerful. She's one of the few people that can make federal level changes that apply to all states.
Yeah.
Without having to go through a very complicated, long,
Senate, they released
process.
the what was it called? The one that changed all the digital rights.
Oh, the Digital
copyright.
Millennium Copyright Act.
That's the one.
DMCA, yeah.
There was a clause in there that basically said that the Librarian of Congress can review the restrictions and exceptions every 3 years without needing congressional oversight.
Yeah.
So that's how this happened.
That's interesting,
And
huh? Which means
when-
that what has happened today will be up for evaluation, and what they actually expect to be about 2 years due to the process.
Yeah, because this one took longer than usual.
Yeah, because a lot of big things happen. Let's talk about the big things that have happened here, because it's really groundbreaking for the United States. Now, some people outside the U.S., this hasn't been an issue for you.
No.
For some of you, this will still be an issue. But for us today, it goes that the main news stories are all talking about now you can jailbreak your iPhone. They're actually making it sound like it's an Apple story. You know, it doesn't really have anything to do with Apple. It's
That's just because Apple is humongous, enormous, gigantic, bigger than the Librarian of Congress, really.
It is now legal to mod your own phone with your custom firmware, bypassing the copyright protection that's on there. The theory before was that any protections that are in place were copyrighted. And if you bypass those protections, you're violating copyright. Illegal. You can get sued, you can get fined, etc.
You can have your phone taken and smashed in front of you, and then get called dirty names.
Maybe even thrown at your feet. Now that's been removed. It is now officially legal to do that. That is going to be huge. That's going to have long, deep, crazy, far-sweeping consequences that are going to be great. We don't even know. The other thing is
big up for freedom, but you know the whole fact that Apple could lock down their store did have some pluses, because it really meant that you could have very much a control.
It really doesn't have anything to do with the store.
No,
no, and I don't really understand why it's been reported as that, because it's really more about.
That's what I get for reading things on the internet.
No, and this is how it's been reported. This is exactly like how I just listened to a radio news story when I was driving home, and they were talking about how this is going to change Apple's App Store marketplace. And I don't really see how that's applicable at all. Now, there's some big changes to how DRM is handled, but day-to-day operations of that lockdown App Store aren't going to change. But what is going to change is you can now load your own version of iOS that maybe has been modified by a community. As long as it doesn't contain copyrighted, pirated material, you can load that on there, which is awesome. And along those same lines of copyrighted material is now you can back up your own freaking DVDs.
Now you can. I think that the original stories that we saw were a little more free than the actual laws are, because you can't. According to what I'm reading, and I could be wrong here because it just came out today and I didn't have a lot of time to read today, but it looks like you can only back up portions of a movie.
Yeah,
first non-commercial, obviously. Purposes.
There's the clause in there where they believe it leaves it open for total like DVD backup is you can use it for the purposes of a short clips for like mashups, documentary purposes, and also there's a term in there for original non-commercial videos.
Right.
Original non-commercial videos, they believe, was specifically left broad enough for personal backup.
Right, because if you're not going to sell it, that's possible. Yeah. Also, you know what? Just the clips portion of that new law, though, that's going to make YouTube a crazy place to go surf around now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, less of those movies that are copyrighted material are going to be able to get pulled.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
The great write-up
I do want to mention, though, that there's no music clauses.
Yeah, I know, right?
Mentioned in this entire thing, and that's still
There's also questions around how it applies to Blu-ray, though. From what I'm reading, it seems like Blu-ray should be covered.
Well, it should be, because they talk about movies, and you'd think that movies would be independent of it, with the media that they're sitting on, whether it's film or VHS or DVD. But apparently, Blu-rays are still somehow protected because they're a different technological medium.
That sounds like crap to me.
I agree. That
I'm going to assume
crap.
that because they say movies and Blu-rays are movies, that I'm allowed to back them up now. Gizmodo has a great article on this. If you guys want to head over to our show notes, we've got a link to that. Because with all of this said, the main question it left me with is, now, just mind you, these are just a couple of the things that have changed, right? There's other things, like, which is big, like the ability to crack video game DRM, like secure ROM and stuff like that for security testing and investigation
and research.
What do you think of that?
Well, okay. Now that this is out, I'll come out and freely admit that every single video game I own has a no CD crack installed.
You don't want to have to go grab the disc just for copy protection.
Such a freaking pain in the ass.
I know.
So I've cracked every single video game that I own. Up until now, it was illegal.
Right.
And now it's not, because I can say that I'm researching something
for the show. Also, I wondered, with these changes in copyright protection, they reasserted the definition. This isn't new, but they reaffirmed that code is considered a work of literature. That's mind-bendingly cool, really.
That reaffirmation is actually what led to the jailbreaking the phone being available, because the code for locking your phone is a small enough portion of the code that makes the iPhone work that it falls under a certain clause that allows for modification of literary works.
Almost like you can to certain types of artwork. Huh. Now, this I led down just the way my mind works on, because how we do things around here is I thought, now how does this impact the Hackintosh community?
Yeah.
Is Hackintoshing now going to be legal? Because Apple's main primary defense, in fact, what they brought down SciStar with was copyright infringement.
That's right.
So is the whole SciStar case now going to go up for
review, for appeal?
And is that going to push this to the Supreme Court, which could challenge all of this? Because that is the one thing that could happen here before the next review, is if this gets bumped to the Supreme Court and they could overrule. You never know. I mean, everything always sounds awesome. It's never totally firm, but...
Well, no, this is actually... excuse me, this is law. I mean, this was made into copyright law today. So as it stands right now, this is totally true and legal and everything. So the only way that it would be sent up the line through the
justice system.
Yeah, through the justice system is if somebody decided to sue somebody else over rights.
Or SciStar wanted to re-challenge their case.
Right.
I can see that going that direction.
I could. I'm really curious how that's going to turn out, because I think it's a very valid. When you brought it up, I was like, oh, duh.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because basically what this all boils down to is that the Library of Congress is trying to make it so that when we own something, it's ours.
We own it. Yeah, you paid for it,
even
you
if
own
it's
it.
digital.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense that if you own... Another good example is the ebooks are now... I mean, if you own a book, if you bought an ebook...
The publisher used to be able to restrict your ability to have an audio synthesizer read it.
Right.
And now they've overruled that, saying...
It's illegal to block that now.
They own that book now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
In the spirit of all this, just a quick mention. About a year ago, I did a guide on how to rip your own DVD, and it's essentially remained the same. We'll link to that in the show notes too, but you can just a quick mention on how to do it is go download Handbrake. Remember, you can back up your own DVDs now. This is legal. If you're on the Mac, you'll also need a program called VLC to break copy protection. And check out the Handbrake program, or check out the video on how to use it to legally back up your own DVDs. And then also, my reading of it is that the Blu-ray backup is also legal. So I also put a link in there on my method that works for backing up Blu-ray DVDs. But of course, unfortunately, right now it does require Windows.
There's so much Chris's face in this video. I was trying to find a Handbrake.
I think that's what I love about that video.
It's so much of
that handsome guy in that video. So check those out, guys, because I think everybody's going to be really excited now.
I'm going to check them out because I'm not really up to speed on how to do all this type of stuff.
If you want to do DVDs, all the links I give you are totally free. To back up Blu-rays, one method requires purchasing software, but it's actually pretty good software. And then the other method is also totally free for even backing up Blu-rays.
Nice.
So check those out in the show notes this week. Well, we kind of had a long episode here because, well, when we get excited about something, we want to talk about it.
Didn't feel that long.
I know, but the chat room's telling me we're going long, but sometimes those people in the chat room are drunk. And if you'd like to join them, I think they have a drinking game in there, something about when I move my microphone. You can join them at jupiterbroadcasting.com/live. We do this show generally 9 p.m. every single night, Monday through Thursday.
Yes, we do.
Every now and then, it's a little later or a little earlier. Go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar.
It's usually my fault when we're not on time. So you can also follow us on Twitter. I'm JB Jeremy, and he is
Chris LAS.
And we always announce right before we're going to go live.
It's always a great way to find out. Okay, everyone. Well, until tomorrow night, we hope you enjoy this episode of Jupiter at Night.